I'm going to start talking. I am going to declare us live, as I do every Tuesday at 2:30. You know the time, you know the place. Awesemo.com. Ben Rasa, FantasyGolfMan, Tim, Frank. This is a new one for us and everyone out there. We're going to be talking about Muirfield Village, and then we're going to do it all over again next week. But this is the 2020 Workday Charity Open. I don't know, Tim. Like, we can get right into it. Do you declare this like a new tournament? What do you make of this whole thing?
Well, first of all, I want to say RIP to the John Deere Classic, which was supposed to be this week.
Your legit favorite tournament.
Legitimately my favorite tournament. So we get stuck with this. We have like good golfers on a good course and stuff. Like we said many times, that's not my forte. Crappy golfers on crappy courses are usually what I like. Yeah, I'm not a big course history guy in general. I'll take into account a little bit of what players have done at Memorial, but, I'm sure we'll get into the course is going to be set up slightly different than the traditional Muirfield Village Memorial setup. So even downgrade course history a little bit more than what you would normally buy into. I'm not a big course history guy. So, yeah, I'll look a little bit at what they've done at Memorial, but I think it's going to play fairly significantly different than what we'll see next week. And this is obviously all speculation, but I'm expecting a little bit of an easier course. They've said less rough, slower greens, stuff like that. So I think there'll be more birdies than we see normally at the Memorial.
Yeah, and we'll dive into that in a bit. First thing off the top, I saw you hit, Bryson minus 10,000 live. Good.
Yeah, I got him on, I think when he had the 3-foot birdie putt on 18, I hit him live. But, a winner's a winner. So
that's what we do on the show, pick winners. What did you make of Rocket Mortgage, that course? I believe it was you, actually, who mentioned that all it's missing is the pinwheel and the clown nose, because what a joke. I really disliked what I saw.
Yeah, it was, your typical just bad field birdie fest. Kind of felt like the John Deere a lot. It really did. Just, if you're not going to, especially Saturday seemed really out of control. I don't know. It's not my I think for viewing purposes, I like a hard course. I think that's more fun to watch, like a US Open style. For trying to project what will happen, I think maybe an easy course is a little bit better. But for watching it, I like it when par is a good score and, you have to worry about making bogeys, making double bogeys. There was just positions where it was like, there wasn't big numbers to be had anywhere. And what Bryson was doing aside, everybody was kind of having a field day with that course. But
it just doesn't make sense. I truly, being serious, don't like when you can hit it 50 yards offline and you're on another fairway.
Yeah.
You're on the fairway. It's just like, oh, he has an interesting angle into his birdie shot. Come on, punish somebody. That's just stupid.
Yeah, and Bryson did hit some wayward drives, but he just never seemed like he was punished by him. Like you said, it was well offline, but he was able to, find it, get it on or close to the green from wherever he was. He just never seemed to find. There was no real trouble for him to find.
No. But hey, we're going to dive into it. But what we're going to dive into first, SuperDraft sponsoring the show, as they always do. If you guys, we got a lot of people in chat. You can hit the like button before I say this. I appreciate that. But if you haven't gone over to SuperDraft, future of daily fantasy sports has arrived. We know about their multiplier mode, basically no salary constraints. The top guys are that 1x. It builds all the way up. You can get incentivized and you get someone, 1.5x. Get that big multiplier and build those lineups. If you haven't played over there, sign up for SuperDraft today using the promo code Awesemo10. All one word, Awesemo10. And it's a free $10 on your first deposit of $10 or more. $20 free on your first deposit of $100 or more. SuperDraft, no limits, more winning. That's their slogan. That sounds pretty good to me. So we're going to be talking about their prices throughout the show. Like I said, it's a different form, and we've seen some people have a lot of success over there. Tim, you alluded before, right off the top, about Muirfield Golf Club. which is where we are for the workday. I guess, how do you want to do this? Do you want to talk about the course in general? I guess the first question is, are you relying on Memorial data to make inferences about what we see here at this, I believe, par 72 track?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I think, we know the yardage, it's a little bit over 7,400 yards. It's a par 72, bent grass greens. Traditionally it plays as one of the more difficult tracks on tour. I think you put it in the boat with places like Honda or Riviera, where, it's not a US Open, but it's not an all-out birdie fest. I mean, but, they've said possibly different tees which will lead to different approach distances, shorter roughs, slower greens. So, I've kind of gotten less and less away, or more and more away, I guess more and more away from really trying to dig super deep into the type of course and to go off of course history. I mean, the vast majority of these courses, it's like, let's just find the best players and play them kind of regardless of course. And that, I'm kind of going that way this week. So I'm not going to get too wrapped up into, are the approaches going to be on this hole? Is it going to be from 150 or 140? That's just not stuff that I look at. I will kind of base it off it being played in Muirfield Village, where we have a long course history, but keeping in mind that it's going to be set up a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit easier, but I just don't get carried away with stuff like that. Approach distances and approaches from the rough or the fairway and all those little minute details that people get bogged down in. And honestly, I just don't know if there's a lot of actionable info from all that stuff.
It's just really, really noisy. And they have them in brackets, like you said. So like if you hit your shot from 151 yards away, that goes one place. 149 yards away, that's a totally different stat. I don't know. Yeah, long irons is maybe something I'll look into. The way I'm approaching this, listen, you got the par fives to attack. The greens being slower, I do think will shrink the range of putters in general. It should help the bad putters. I think it hurts the really good putters. But again, it's putting. We don't exactly know on a week-to-week who that's going to be anyway. And then other than that, I do think it's a second shot course where, it can be aggressive off the tee. You don't need to be, though. Like your boy, I believe David Lingmerth has a win at Memorial. If he can do it, there's a cast of characters in terms of the previous winners here that talk about the type of skills you need.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting winners list because it's, a fairly long par 72, usually a strong field. So you would think that it would just be like, boom, like Rory, JT. And we've seen some of those guys, but, Cantlay, Bryson, but then there's Duffner, McGirt, Lingmerth. I mean, 3 short hitters, Decky, Kuchar, Woods, Stricker. So a lot of short hitters mixed in there on what would seem, if you're just looking at the specs of the course, like a longer track, a par 72, strong field. You think all those things would say, it's just going to be like the Bombers year in and year out. But short hitters definitely have a chance here. So I'm not counting out anybody just based off of driving distance for sure.
No, and I like, and again, you're going to hear us say all this twice, so we don't need to get too crazy, but I'm a fan of Memorial is one of my favorite tournaments of the year. So like, I like this course. I like this tournament. I just don't know exactly what this version of it is going to be. And then we get it again.
Yeah, it might be more confusing next week than this week. I don't know. There's definitely this is something we've never really dealt with before. First of all, having events at a track that we know, but will be set up differently. And then next week, the same track back to back, but then set up differently again. So there's definitely a lot of moving parts to what we're doing, which is just another reason why I just try not to get bogged down in all that stuff. It's just, I don't want to waste the bandwidth. Let's just find the best players. Let's find some under the radar guys who have good stats that maybe other people aren't on. And I'm just not one of those guys that gets really bogged down in all that stuff. But if you like that's fine. That's part of the fun of researching golf. That's why I love golf, because there's so many different things to look into. But after I've done this for so long, it's just not for me.
Yeah, listen, I think there's a point where you can dig too much. And if you want to tell me that this guy on Fridays on Bermuda, when it's windy, and there's been drizzle in his last 12 rounds, is gaining strokes around the green when the bunkers are on the left. That's great. I'm just not sure that's the answer for us here. So
I have a question for you, and I found this, and this is not directed at anybody, and I found it with myself because I like to give information and data too, but it's like sometimes I send things out and I'm like, I don't even know if this is really relevant, and should I send it out? Like, is it up? Do you leave it up to the person, the consumer, to decide what is relevant, or is like, should we like be protecting them by like kind of saying, I don't know if this is really, sometimes it's like, I don't know, some of the stuff I feel like is not relevant, but if people like it, I mean, I guess it's up to them to use it and decide what they think is good and isn't good.
yeah, listen, we want to present the information, and that's what we're here to do. We've already had a couple questions on someone named Matthias Defoe, so that's our cue to dive in to the golfers. Let's start with people I know. So right at the top, JT is back. He's the only guy over 11,000 on DraftKings. And then we've got a cast of characters from Rahm, Cantlay, Brooks, Xander Decky. No surprise, that's what you're going to see on the multiplier side over on SuperDraft, except John Rahm is the most expensive in terms of multiplier. He's 1x. What do you make? I know you're a JT guy. He gets the 11K crown this week. Do you go right to him? Do you ride Decky, who played really well, just couldn't putt last week? What do you make of the top tier?
Yeah, I think it's tough at the top this week because there's a lot of question marks on almost all these guys. I will say all these guys. I mean, JT has been great coming off the miscut at Travelers. And we don't want to make too much out of a miscut, but if I'm paying all the way up to the very, very top at 11K, I want there to be it's like total green light, like let's go. And maybe that green light would be ownership. But I mean, coming off a miscut where he didn't play well, it wasn't like it was just a putter. He was just not good. A little scary for me. I'm a longtime JT guy. I think I'm going to try not to make too much of that miscut, but not my favorite play going all the way up to top. Like I said, I want like Bryson last week where it's just like, full go. There's no red flags at all. I think you hit it for me with Decky. It's probably going to be more of a balanced week for me. So I like not paying all the way up. I like going down to Decky at 10K. He was really, really good. He was T21 last week, but the ball striking, as always, was phenomenal. It was just the putter again. It seems like it's like kind of like the same old story with him, but plus 7.7 ball striking. Very good. And that's, he missed the cut at RBC, and that was all putter too. So it's like he's T21 and missed cut, but the irons and the driving, that's been great. He's got a really good record here at Memorial. He's got a win, a 5th, a 6th, a 13th. So just based on what he's doing, I like that. I like the savings because I'm just not sold on anybody at the top. You can make a case for all of them, but I think everybody has red flags above 10K.
No doubt. So you look at JT's got the feast or famine at Memorial. He had a 4th and 8th in 2017 and 18, and that's sandwiched around miscuts all over the place. Cantlay's the defending champ, but he's pretty pricey, and I don't think the ownership is going to dissipate. I'm kind of interested in Rahm just because I think he may get squeezed a little. We know he's going to be aggressive. We haven't seen him in just a little bit since Travelers, where he was really uncharacteristically bad with the irons. But at the same time, I think he's shaking some rust off, and maybe he's a little lost. Having said that, though, even though I think he's clearly going to be more popular than last week, Hideki he was good. Like, I backed him last week. I thought he was going to win. And yes, he was shaky at times. He also easily could have been in that golf tournament. I know everyone talks about how good Bryson is. Well, you know what's good? When you gain 8 strokes putting. Like, give that to Decky, give that to Henrik Norlander, and they're probably winning. So I was really impressed with him. I just don't know what to do with Brooks. I want to ask you specifically about Brooks. What do you do with him? We haven't seen him with the COVID withdrawal, obviously just precautionary.
I like Brooks. I think he's probably my second favorite play above 10K behind Decky. Just based on what we saw at Harbor Town, where he finished T7, not a really good track for him, not a really good track for any of the long hitters, but the ball striking was really good. Gained almost 7 strokes off the tee and on approach. That's after finishing T32 at Colonial, where the ball striking was not really good. but he's been knocking off the rest. We saw him 2 weeks ago. It wasn't, well, I guess it'd be 3 weeks ago now. It's not like he's had this long layoff. I mean, he was really good at Harbor Town, so that was definitely a plus for me. So yeah, he would be my second favorite play behind Decky, I think.
And then do you have any feel on a guy like Xander? Good driver of the ball, not going to be nearly as popular as the others, but at the same time, I kind of feel like he's always a little overpriced.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a guy that I just never can seem to get right. Somewhat inconsistent, but definitely super huge upside. We see him just play great and then kind of have spurts of not playing well. I don't know. He's just a guy that I don't seem to get right. I guess ownership would dictate my decision on him because I just have not been able to really predict when he plays well. So obviously low ownership, good play, high ownership, bad play.
I mean, there's
that's
some
safe to say.
Listen, when you're talking about small margins, you have to look to secondary things because I don't know how you can accurately project guys like this in terms of big differences. It's very nuanced. So to me, it's Decky, it's Rahm, and then I'm going to mix and match the rest. That's where I look. But, this isn't a major level field, but it's also not garbage like we saw last week. We got guys in the 9K, and this is where it gets interesting. There's only 4 of them, but they're damn good players. We got Rose, Hovland, Morikawa, and Ricky. It's like 2 of the, I guess you could call them veterans against 2 of the young guns. When you say balanced build, I assume you talk about some of these guys in there.
No, just fire up Hovland. I mean,
woo, okay, good. This is good because I'm not there.
No, you're not on it.
No. Nope.
I mean, the numbers for him have just been off the charts, consistently good. He's played all 4 events, 12th, 11th, 21st, 23rd. The ball striking 8 strokes, 10 strokes, 7 strokes, 5 strokes. The putting's been bad, but it's honestly like it hasn't even, as bad as he's putted, it hasn't even really killed you to play him. Like, that's how good the ball striking's been. Like, he can be terrible with the putter and he's still good. And I know, sometimes I like to say, well, he's bunched in with a guy like Ricky or a guy like Rose who has, all these tour wins, majors and been top quality golfer for 10, 15 years. But Hovland is good. I don't think the price doesn't scare me. I'm fine with 9,500, especially because I don't plan on paying all the way up top to JT. And the numbers have just been off the charts. I can't ignore them.
His ball striking is electric. There's no doubt about it. But there are a couple things with him. One, he's starting to get I won't say a narrative, but he really torches easy courses. Like, he just tears them apart. I'm not sure exactly. Not that this is going to be brutal. This isn't a U.S. Open or anything. And truth be told, he was incredible at the U.S. Open. But I really do picture him more like last week, where he's can really lean on the driver. I think his strength clearly is off the tee. The approaches have been ridiculous. I don't think he's this good, and I expect some regression on that front. The scrambling is bad. The putting is bad. And I do think with the long iron shots, you may see a little more of that. The other thing, and I obviously can't quantify this, and he's made the weekend in all 4. 5 straight events. He's driving to all them. He's not on planes. It's a lot of wear and tear. I don't care who you are. I know he's young. I'm not saying like he's going to come out and hurt his back, but man, that's a lot of golf. And considering he's not leaving tournaments on Saturday, he's leaving on, late Sunday, Monday, considering he's always making the weekend.
It's a lot easier when you're cashing like 6-figure checks or like high 5-figure checks.
That is true.
I would make the drive. Yeah.
You would make the drive.
That's why I said I couldn't believe Answer took any time off. I was Abraham Answer. I would never stop playing until I missed a cut. Like the blackjack table. You don't just leave right in the middle.
Can't leave on a heater. Yeah. He's also going to be very popular, and I get why. I'm not saying I'm going to have no exposure, but I probably come in underweight, and this is just kind of what I do. I bash Colin Morikawa time and time again. The shot, it's amazing. You miss one cut, take a week off, and now it's like, who? Oh, yeah, I remember that guy. Like, didn't he make some cuts in a row? I'll go to him before I go to Hovland. Like, would you rather have Hovland and I'm just throwing numbers out. We obviously have premium ownership projections that will be run and be posted, and you can check them out behind the paywall. Would you rather play like Hovland at, let's say, around 20% or Morikawa around 10%? Is it Hovland, and you differentiate
Hovland at 99% because I would know I would have an advantage on that 1% of the field that was
a little less rake in there for you? Okay. I'm obviously, as Chad has pointed out, I'm just going to use Ricky, who also played better than it seemed. He does this. I don't know why. He flirted with the cut when there was no reason to. Then he got it in gear. He gained across the board. Ball striking pretty good. Positive with the putter. That needs to get even better. But Ricky is someone on Bankrest. I feel very good about him in this spot at flat 9K.
Yeah, I actually like Ricky as well. He was good last week. Not great. But yeah, I think the price is really good, especially when you compare him to some of the guys in the mid to upper eights. I prefer him well ahead of them. Has some really good finishes here. He has 2 runners up. He has an 8th, a 14th. Yeah, and the T12, everything was pretty decent last week. Ball striking was good. And I like him. I just think it's a good price on him, and he fits what I'm trying to do this week with kind of, more of a, I don't know, I call it balanced. Maybe it's like a hybrid balanced.
I say hybrid balanced. Well,
yeah.
I think when people think balanced, they think of like, you gotta play like 5 guys in the 8K range.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you can do balanced with 2 or 3 guys at like 9, and then 2 or 3 guys at 7, low 7.
Yep.
That's a really interesting build, and one that I advocate. Considering there's only 4 guys here, we might as well quickly hit on Justin Rose. He's in the middle for me. I like Ricky more than him, and I like him more than someone like Hovland. But do you have a take, or do you just feel pretty comfortable if you had to get there?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough because he played so well at Colonial and Harbor Town, and he looked like, oh yeah, like everything's just going to continue at Travelers, and then he was bad. He missed the cut, and I think that'll have people off of him like it has me off of him. But we can't discount what he did the first 2 events back. The course history is spectacular. A win and 2 runners up, 3 other top 10s. But just, I don't know, price wise, maybe doesn't fit as well. I like the savings that Ricky gives you at 9K flat.
Fair enough. And I'm with you. He's going to be a staple of my lineups. Now we get serious. There's over 10 guys in the 8K. Sunjay Im, Patrick Reed, Mark Leishman, many others. Talk to me. What do you make of this? Could be your 3rd man in, could be an aggressive 2nd man in. A lot of different types of players in the 8K. Wow.
A lot of bad players in this range. It seems like a good range for you. A lot of guys that you'll key in on.
I bet a guy to win from this range. You know who it is?
Leishman?
Yep. 50-1.
Yeah, Leishman is interesting. Maybe I like him more as a bet.
That's right. That's why I did it.
Because 8,700 is pretty expensive for a guy who's gone T58 and missed cut. Now, granted, he's one of those guys where the numbers behind those finishes look a lot better than the finishes on paper themselves. And that's kind of what I like to target. So what do we got? T58 at Travelers. But the ball striking was decent, gained 4 strokes. Miscut at Colonial, but that was all putter. He gained 3.2 with the ball striking just in those 2 rounds before the miscut. So not good finishes, but ball striking is good. He leads the tour in approach. Now that's the whole season, going all the way back through the fall. But the irons have been good, and he was a guy that before the break, I think we were keying in on. So I like kind of the underlying numbers. We know he can win events. We saw him win at Bay Hill. We saw him win a FedEx Cup event. Great course history here. So I like him. I don't know, 8,700. I'm not in love with the price on DraftKings, but maybe a better bet than a DraftKings play. But I definitely wouldn't be opposed to playing him.
You took the words out of my mouth. I bet him. I have a free article posted breaking down some of my favorite bets, and he is one of them. The thing I love about Leishman is he is not a great putter, but he has great putting performances. And you just look at his 2020 to show that. He lost 4.1 at Sony. He wins at Farmers. He gains 8 strokes putting. Then he has a couple weeks of negative putting. He comes in second at API. He gains 6 more strokes putting. Those are the type of performances that can really, really get you upside. So from that point, I'm pretty high on him. Tim, do you have a take on like Patrick Reed coming off the missed cut? You don't. You look like I literally killed you. You are just, I put you to sleep with the Leishman talk, and now you're back.
Oh, I thought you were gone. I was like, I was here and you were gone. Are we good now?
No, we better be good. I hope people saw that monologue I just said about Leishman. That was good info. So
I lost you right at the end of it. And
they heard me. The people heard me loud and clear.
It was like such hot fire with Leishman that you just broke the internet connection.
Yeah, no, we Gucci. Reed disappointed a lot of people last week. He's another one. He plays every week. I think against the green contrarian, I don't mind it, but clearly not at the top of my priority list at the same time.
Yeah, I wasn't on him last week. Wasn't good, but what can you say? He's just one of those guys. I don't want to say Snedeker type, but there are just certain types of guys that are somewhat inconsistent. They're not Hovlands. They're not Connors. They're not going to go out every week and just stripe it. And that leads to some inconsistency. But like we've always said with him, when he's on, he's a threat to win the event. So kind of the perennial GPP play. Hard to tell exactly what you're going to get. I just don't love the price. Like I said, I'd rather just go up to Ricky at flat 9. I think for me in this range, or at least in the AK range, I think Neiman is interesting at 8,400. But boy, it was like he had 4 really good rounds that spanned the last 2 at RBC, I believe, and then the first 2 at Travelers, where he was 5th at Harbor Town. And I don't know if that was one good round or a whole good weekend. I just remember it was like on the weekend he made a charge. And then he came out at Travelers and he could not putt the first 2 days, but was just like a ball striking machine and looked great, and then just kind of fell apart on the weekend. So I'm not sure what to make. I think generally, the numbers kind of look good if you're just looking at the 3 tournaments he's played, plus 1.9, plus 10 at RBC with the ball striking, and then decent at Colonial where he's plus 3. So I don't mind him, and he's been consistently good in that regard going back to before the break. I think 8,400 is a decent price, but a little concerned that the Saturday and Sunday at the Travelers was not good, and he ended up finishing T63.
Yeah, he did lose 6 strokes putting, so
that'll do
he's prone to do that. Neiman is a tricky guy. He gets so crazy hot. We see him a lot of times on that weekend make a run. I think you want to talk about this is where buckets come in. Like if you're looking for consistency, someone like Kuchar, I trust a lot more to give you a decent showing here, even Woodland. If you're talking about pure wild cards, I don't think anyone is going to use a guy. No, I shouldn't say that. Spieth is the guy no one's going to use, rightfully so. But you have Neiman as maybe a higher upside, Wolf as a higher upside, getting the price bump. You have any interest in Spieth, or can we just move on? No. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we have.
I want to know where this Wolf performed. Like there were a lot of people that bet Wolf, and like props to you guys, didn't hit the winner, but I mean, not even on the radar for me last week. And there was nothing that I could see besides the fact that he was a young stud who won at a, kind of a similar track last year. But there was nothing in the numbers that said anything that I saw.
So the thing about Wolf, and again, I don't want to make like that was on, I was one of the people. I did use him in spots. The only thing I could pull, and we talked about this on the show, is he seems to be the type of guy that when he gets on the right course, it can get crazy hot. And if it's the wrong course, it's really bad. The problem I had, and we're going to talk about this guy, I correlated him nice to Bryson. That was great. I thought Scotty Scheffler was the other piece of that.
Oh.
My God. And I will say, let's move into the 7K range here. Before I do, chat, got something to tell you. Podcast giveaway. Check out the pinned tweet on the Awesemo.com Twitter handle for a chance to win an Awesemo Plus monthly pass. We're giving it away. It gives you access to all our premium content, tools, projections for 30 days. All you have to do is like that tweet, subscribe to the Awesemo podcast, and leave a 5-star review with your Awesemo username or your Twitter handle. And it's simple as that. We want to get those views up. We appreciate it. So go give us a 5-star review. But I have never seen, so truly, I'm not trying to be outrageous. When Scotty Scheffler shot 79, I figured obviously he was hurt. And you know what? You don't know. It's hard to get injury stuff. And then he comes out and he fires a bogey-free 65 on Friday. 14-stroke difference. Killed me last week. He heads off towards the top of the 7K range, Tim. I want to ask you right off the top, do you trust to go back to him after he burned everybody?
No. I mean, the price seems more in line with where it should be this week. Last week, I didn't like where his price. I think he was, about 8,500?
Yeah,
I don't know. I've been kind of lower on Scheffler than a lot of people. And at least since the restart, that's been a good thing. Prior to that, it wasn't good. But he wasn't great at Travelers. I didn't like that. And again, I his overall numbers for the week weren't that great, but they're never going to be good when you shoot 79 on a course where the stroke average is like 69. So, not for me this week, but I mean, he falls into the same boat as a guy like Wolf. Obviously, he's been way more consistent than Wolf, but anytime you can get a huge talent at not a high price, and I don't know where the ownership's going to land, but I mean, there's always going to be some upside there with a guy as young and talented as he is. And I think maybe seeing what Wolf did last week, it's kind of made me think of, maybe my dart throws should be more like guys like Wolf, just young guys with huge upside rather than just these old idiots like Kevin Streelman. Even though Kevin Streelman almost won 2 weeks ago, I don't know. I guess that's a roundabout way of saying maybe he's a great GPP play, but I'm not on Scheffler this week.
Are you on Kevin Streelman, who has fantastic course history at Memorial?
No, I'm not. I mean, the funny thing is I don't know if you remember 2 weeks ago, I was kind of talking about the same thing, and I used Kevin Streelman as the guy of like, let's stop playing guys like Kevin Streelman because he never wins. The stats always look good. And then literally I've never anti-sweated something so much that I had no money on the line, whatsoever. But I was sweating bullets that Streelman didn't win after I just basically put him in a coffin saying, he's terrible. Don't play guys like this because they never win. No, I'm on Cameron Champ at 7,700.
Cameron Champ at 70. You like that Sunday finish from, okay. He gained, you know what? You could talk about this, but when I look at Cameron Champ, he does what he always does. He gained 5.7 strokes off the tee and he did nothing else.
Okay. But we've seen now, and Bryson showed us that if you can gain all these strokes off the tee, the rest of your game does not need to be that good because you're putting yourself in such a good position. I saw last week everyone's saying, oh, Bryson, he can't hit a wedge. He can't hit a... Well, you know what? If you're basically chipping for eagle on like 8 holes, it really doesn't matter. And Champ is like kind of like Bryson light. I mean, just smashes off the tee and it makes the rest of the game that much easier. Your approach numbers don't need to be that good. Your putting and around the green numbers don't need to be that good. He's finished 12th and 14th the 2 times we saw him. Colonial, not a good course fit for him. And the ball striking's gained 5.5 strokes both times. Granted, yes, it was all off the tee. But all the numbers all work together. I've come to realize it doesn't really matter. Your approaches don't need to be good when you're that good off the tee. I think the price is good. He's a young stud. He's won 2 times in however many starts, limited starts. Sign me up. I'm ready for Cameron Champ week.
Interesting. What I want to see is, can he take advantage? Like, can you separate off the tee here? That's what I really want to know. Because if you can do that, there's some merit to that. I'm more looking for like the Benyon Ustis of the world, who are sweet swinging, better with long irons, not going to blow you away off the tee, crafty scramblers. Than someone like Champ. I have to look into exactly what he can do off the tee here with this setup, because I think you would acknowledge if he has another big week, he has to carry himself off the tee. Like, he has to do his damage there.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess the question about this course would be, this isn't a course where you being wildly offline that usually hurts you here. It's not like last week where you're going to be hit at 350 and 50 yards left and still be able to find it and have an approach shot. I mean, I think if you're 350 and 50 yards left here, you're dead.
Yeah, you're gonna have a serious problem.
So I mean, it's not. This isn't like lock and load full go, but I mean, for the price, I think for a young guy who has won twice and not a lot of starts, and for what we've seen him do in his 2 starts since golf has come back, I think it all looks good.
That's fair. No, listen, that's fair. He comps to players that I'm not really on, so it makes it tougher. Like, I think he's a good pairing with Hovland. I don't really like either of them.
Well, that's good. I'm planning
that's
on
good.
playing 100% Hovland. So
yeah, there you go. I'm more on Lord Raiden here. Talk to me about Joel Damon, bucket hat man himself. Another guy who's going to crush it with the irons. That's where he does his damage. Solid since the restart. Got a little break, right back at it. I honestly see no red flags here.
Yeah, there are no red flags. I mean, he's played 3 times, T20, T48, T19, but in all of them, just rock solid ball striking between 4.5 and 6 strokes, which is really, really good if you're doing that week in and week out. Very similar to what we saw. Lucas Glover isn't in the field this week, but very similar to what he's done. I mean, 7,700, it's a great price. He's a different type of player than Champ. Probably a lot more consistent, maybe doesn't have quite the upside of Champ. But I mean, I think you can pencil Damon in for another, +5 or 6 with the ball striking. And if the putter gets hot, maybe a top 10. If the putter's not, maybe he's T30. But, I see nothing wrong with him at all. Just a different type of player from Champ. But numbers, I mean, as far as consistency, I don't think you could ask for anything more than the price is good.
It really is. Like, he's someone that I feel comfortable in a lot of different builds. Now we get listen, I'll open it up and chat. Feel free to jump in. This is where it gets insane. There's like, you've got Kokrak, Sneds, Maverick, Poulter, Billy Ho, Varner, a bunch of other guys. And then we could talk about the low sevens in a minute. But what do you make of the pure mid-range 7K? I think for me, it's probably Poulter and then Billy Ho. Not in love with any of it, though.
Did you just intentionally omit Day because you just have no idea?
I can't. I'm not even saying I'm opposed to it. I just truly don't know what he's doing anymore. And even when he was good, he's like the notorious, well, he's an Ohio guy. He never played good here.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. Even when he was like the number 1 player in the world, he struggled here. And like you said, he lives in Ohio. People were always thinking like this was going to be the place, but the course history is awful. And I'm not a big course history guy, but when you're as good of a golfer as he is, and in 10 starts here, you have like 1 finish better than T25. That's not good. Yeah, he just seems lost. I have no interest in Day. For me, the guy in the mid 7s is HV3. Really kind of like Dahmen. HV3 has 1 miscut. He's played all 4 events. This is his 5th event in a row. T30, T32, miscut, and T19, but just really, really good ball striking numbers. He was +5 last week, +7.5 at Travelers, +8.5 at Colonial. Really good numbers. I think the price is good. That's what I look at. I thought he was a good play last week at Rocket Mortgage, and T30, but just kind of ho hum, just strike it great, not putting amazing. But I think at 7,500, at least if you're just looking at the numbers, he stands out above all these guys. Maybe not the win equity. I don't know. 0 wins on tour. I don't know if he's ever going to win on tour compared to some guys like Sneds, Billy Ho. But the consistency, the numbers I like, and 7,500 I think is a good price again this week.
Yeah, he's someone that, and he fits a lot of different builds. He just kind of does his thing. Good with the irons. I don't mind him in any format, whether it's like, cash-esque or milli. And just, I wanted to mention this before. We've got some new people in chat, a lot of new faces, and some of them were talking about taking the milli. The milli maker winner last week, single bullet. It can be done. He also won because Ryan Armour missed that 3-footer. So that is as fortunate as it gets.
I
but
want
it
to be
can.
on that end of a missed 3-foot. I feel like I'm always on the wrong end of the missed
I
3-foot.
think about that. For every obscene beat, there is somebody on the other side who is just like, you're not going to believe what happened. I was winning 100K and the guy missed a 3-foot putt and I just won $1 million on that.
It was probably one of those things where he was like so excited that he won 100K,
And just
not even paying attention. And it's like he logs into the app like an hour later and it's like, wait a minute.
straight buckets. Yeah, that's got to be a good feeling, but not nearly as bad as the other way feels. All right. Now we get to guys that this is where I'll tell you right now, chat, I'm going to have some issues in the lower sevens. You've got guys like Hubba Hubbard playing great, Chris Kirk. I have interest in Russell Henley this week. Going to tell you right now. Grio, Keegan, all the guilty pleasures. Homa, your boy. What do you make of? No, you done with him right off the bat?
Yeah, he crushed me at the Travelers.
Couldn't putt.
No, he cannot putt.
Seriously, though, I know you're as big a ball striker in terms of the numbers in anyone. You cannot tell me that Russell Henley isn't on fire lately with the irons.
He's the guy. I don't want to take your thunder away.
I'll take it.
We're both on Henley. And he was a guy that we've kind of been tracking for a long time. Yet before the break, we had a lot of interest in him. But what he did, was that 2 weeks ago at Travelers? T32. But he gained 10 strokes with the ball striking, 8.2 on approach, which is just outstanding. I just love it. It's 7,300. If you look just straight on the paper, you see T32 and miscut. That really doesn't do a lot for anybody. But, man, the numbers were really, really good at Travelers. He's another guy. I like him. He hasn't won in a while, but he has 3 wins on tour. He's another guy that if he gets hot, we know he can contend and win. He can putt. He's not a god-awful putter. I know it's kind of a streaky putter, more of a Bermuda guy. But he has a T6 here. He won in Houston. Those are bent grass greens. So, he's one of my favorite plays as far as a guy that I don't think it's not like all the numbers all line up or like a Norlander where everyone can just point to these things and it's like everyone's just going to be lining up to play him. I think it'd be somewhat popular, but I don't think it'd be chalky. But I just like that he's a winner. And if he plays well, I feel confident that he can contend even in a strong field.
I believe, and if I'm wrong, just forget I said this, but I believe that Russell Henley won his first ever start on tour.
The Sony Open? Maybe.
His first event, his first win was the Sony Open. And I think that was his first event ever as a professional. But listen, if it's not true, I'll just say I never said it, even though it's on tape. We also had him gaining 10. I know this was before the break, but he gained 10 strokes with the approach down during the Florida swing. The irons are crushing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm right there. And then listen, we can make fun because it's very easy to make fun of Grio. He's starting to get it together here and there. The problem is that the ball striking needs to be even better because the putter may never turn around. He actually had a huge putting performance last week. I'm not joking. He lost 0.4 of a stroke, but that was his best going back, basically 8 events. So do you like him? Do you like Keegan, who I've been playing, and I think I'm going to continue to try to buy? Stats little all over the map, but I kind of think this is a decent course for him if he can lean a little better off the tee.
No, this is not the low sevens aside from Henley. I don't love. I just think the strongest plays in the sevens are Henley, HV3, the two guys a little bit more expensive. Dahmen, Champ. It's just I'd love to find a way to get up to them or maybe go down into the upper sixes. It's just lower sevens. Just I don't love. I like Henley, and besides that, that's about it. Grillo, weird. He likes it here, which you wouldn't think. Memorial, typically really fast greens. I know we're not going to see that this week. You'd think he would struggle with the super fast greens, but he has a pretty decent record here.
So does Bud Cauley. Bud Cauley has some decent history here.
That guy, I don't know what
I was really
When's the last time he's really played well?
I know.
It's just like you T40 and then that's it, or a miscut.
I really thought, and I'm not giving up all hope on him. I thought he was going to win. I had bet him sporadically here and there at big odds. And it never really materialized. He didn't burn me too much on the DFS space, but a lot of middling performances. So I think this is a decent spot to look to, mostly because the opportunity cost is minimal. I don't see a lot of plays here. Tell that to our friend Delande in chat, who has Zach Johnson as the winner. I seriously doubt that, but you know what? He did play really well at Travelers. I'll give you that. That's all I have to say on that. Let's get egregious. Chat, before we do, I want to say really quickly, one, if you can hit the like button, as I say throughout the show, it really helps us out. And two, there is no better time. Come in the ropes. Awesemo Plus. We want you as part of the community. If you haven't signed up, hop on in. It's not just for this. We've got a big promo running for MMA, promo code ISLAND. That'll get you in there. This is apparently the biggest card ever. Mortal Kombat Island style. I know nothing about that, but we have people that are experts. Pete the Heat, Jason Floyd, they'll be breaking it down. Josh Engelman, who's behind the glass, super sharp MMA guy. And we have so many tools, projections, ownership, the leverage tools. And it's not just for DFS. We are starting to break out the betting tools. And those are things that you need to see. So come on in. We packages from weekly to monthly to annually. Find what's right for you. Just give it a try. Promo code Island, or Eland, as Lofty would say. Here we go. Time to get egregious. I'm putting Kyle Stanley with the sixes because after what he did last week, just killed me along with Scheffler. We'll start with him. Luke List is also there. These are guys that you could look to, or do you want to actually dive into the 6K range?
Yeah, nobody at 7. I'm with you. Stanley really hurt me last week. Just an awful round on Thursday. He was in such a big hole. I think he shot like 2. Once he shot like 2 or 3 over, he just wasn't coming back from that. That's how easy the course was. That 2 over was just a death sentence. Good record here, but I don't think I'm going back to him. Not a ton that I like below 7K. I wouldn't mind going back to Burns at 6,900.
Do it.
What do you think? You like it?
Listen, you were on him last week, and he did exactly kind of what you talked about. He scores. He just pure scorer. The one thing that was really ironic, he did it all around the green and with the putter, and that is not what I wanted to see on bent. I thought he wasted the putting performance a little.
Yeah, I would agree. He was decent last week. He didn't do it the way that I would have liked. Like, it wasn't a great ball striking performance. But he's, just when you can bomb it and you can putt, you have some really good potential there. So I don't mind. He's just kind of a long-term guy that I like. Like I said, last week wasn't exactly what I wanted out of the T30. That wasn't bad, but he didn't strike it particularly well. But the putter's rolling, and, the guy can score. We've got 4 par 5s here. I don't mind him. I guess he would be the guy I would target up here, but I don't know. There's just not a ton. Werenski at 6,800. He just seems so boring.
God,
I know.
You're the original Richie Werenski truther.
And he is not good at golf.
Struggles.
He's played okay the last couple weeks. I would much prefer Burns over Werenski.
So Chad has been begging me to say a name in the high 6s. So I'll throw out Sebastian Munoz to you. What do you make of him? He missed the cut at Rocket Mortgage, good with the approaches in about 8 or 9 straight tournaments, but everything else is a little shaky. Do you have any interest there?
No, I really didn't see it too much last week. So I wasn't on him, and he was not good. No, I will stick with Burns as my one play from the upper 6 range.
Okay.
I don't see myself going down. There's not a lot below 7K. I think there's different weeks where we see different things. And this just isn't one of those weeks. Some weeks I look at below 7K and I'm like, man, there's a ton of punts down here that I like. And I think it also, the way that I'm building, I don't know if I'm going to need to go down here either.
So I would be lying if I didn't actually get to the guy. That chat, this is what we do. We're a man of the people. We have someone who is borderline obsessed with Jim Furyk, and I don't really see it. He's not doing anything, doesn't really outscore his placement too much, probably gain with the irons, but any interest in a guy like that, or would you rather purely, if you're going to do it, would you rather go with like a JB Holmes who you never get him right, but when you do, at least you get paid off?
Yeah, I think the problem with Furyk is not playing great.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Even if he does play great, how good is he? If he plays good, how good is he really going to be? And of course, this isn't Harbor Town or a place where it's just like a short hitter's paradise. I mean, yes, short hitters have been okay here. But this isn't some place where it's like you don't need to drive it at all, and it's going to be all short irons. Yeah, take your chances with Burns. Take your chances with JB. That if they do finish T40, they can still maybe get some streaks or some eagles in there. Furyk, you know what you're going to get with him. Very unlikely he's going to finish in the top 20. Very unlikely that he's going to be a real big scorer, whatever finish he has. No, I don't like Furyk.
I think if I'm going down I would try to save even more salary because I don't see any difference between the high sixes and the mid sixes. So we've got guys like Aaron Wise, who, again, he's not playing great, burnt a lot of people last week, but I'm not too worried. He's going to have some things here and there. Henrik Norlander was ungodly good. He gained 8.6 tee to green, 8.3 just with the irons, though, last week. The problem is I think he's going to garner a lot of interest relative to who Henrik Norlander is. Would you rather go to him or would you look to Brandon Wu, Aaron Wise, Hudson Swafford? There's a lot of names down here, but I don't feel great about any of them.
Yeah, Norlander is going to be like the Wes Bryant of last week, just a terrible player that probably gets like 10% ownership. But I mean, there's no denying how good he was. He was T12, gained 10.5 with the ball striking, led the field in ball striking. And it hasn't just been the Rocket Mortgage. He was T41 at Travelers, pretty much break even. But he missed the cut at Colonial and he gained 4.7 in 2 rounds. So it was just all putter and short game there. So, I mean, the ball striking's more than just one event, but I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be chalky. That's bad. I know Wes Bryant actually got there last week somehow.
Somehow, yeah. I mean, I just think there are guys that have maybe more, and if not the same projections, win equity, cut making equity as Henrik Norlander, but you're going to get a discount with Harry Higgs, with Wise, certainly with Brandon Wu. Charles Schwartzel, to me, if you want a 1%er for the millie, there's a million flyers. You don't want to take them all, obviously, but you could do better than that. I want to quickly pour one out for my man last week. After Thursday, I felt like a damn genius with Chase Seifert on my teams. I was basking in the glory. And then Friday, he promptly shot 3 over and missed the cut. That didn't work. Spoiler alert, didn't work. Is there anybody, do you have any interest in going really low this week, or you think it's unnecessary to like kill a Keith, Cameron Percy types?
No, I would second Higgs as a pivot off of Norlander.
Okay.
The putter was just an abomination. Dead last in strokes gained putting last week, lost 6.7 on the greens. So I wouldn't mind going back there, and obviously there'll be some improvement. I guess if you want to go even lower, my guy KH Lee at 6,300. The approach was very good. He was second in the field in approach, and he's another guy. What do we want to call him? A poor man's Taylor Gooch, who maybe like twice a year just has these insane sort of iron approaches. So we've seen it out of him before. It's not like, just out of the blue, KH Lee hit the irons really well. I mean, we've seen him have a couple events a year where he hits the irons really well. Last week was one of them. I don't know. I mean, that's a very tepid endorsement, but if I had to go below 6,500, he would be my guy.
I don't know. These guys are, it seems really, the win equity to me is so evenly dispersed up top. I'm not sure I need to make teams that are like JT and Rahm.
No.
And that's where you get to these guys. So if something sticks out, I'm not opposed to it. I'm not going to force anyone in down here. like I said, it just truly seems unnecessary. If you want to know who Matthias Defoe is, tomorrow night at 8:30, me and Jason Roslin will be breaking down this field, answering your questions. He will know. I don't know who that is at all. When someone typed it in chat, I just assumed they were talking about Matthias Schwab because Euro started back up, but none of that is true. Him and Donnie Trosper, not playing them again. Donnie Trosper was dead last by about 50 shots last week.
And then he Monday qualified for this week. Did you see that?
I did, and that is impressive. Shout out to him for doing that, but I'm not playing them. And Kevin Tway is completely cooked right now. Sorry to say, chat. He's losing like 8 strokes tee to green every week. It's very bad.
That's not good.
We got one more guy, Mike Dunn, friend of the show. We got you. Justin Hadley. He's 6,500. Another what? Go ahead.
Killed me last week. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just think, listen, that's where you have to separate things short term. Norlander, if you played him, you had a great, everything worked perfectly. You feel great. If you played Hadley, you got burned. I don't know if you should override your long-term projections on guys like that. They're the same price, but Hadley's going to come in significantly lower owned. And that's, we got to make sure with the projections, but that's my guess. And long-term, I trust Chesson Hadley a lot more. Don't you?
Yeah. The thing about Hadley that was weird is he had 2 really good ball striking performances. That's why I played him last week. And then he putted well, but still missed the cut and didn't strike it well. He had like an 8-footer and a 13-footer to make the cut. He needed to make one of those in the last 2 holes, and he missed them both. Really hurt me. So kind of a weird performance in that he didn't strike it well and he putted well. But yeah, you're 100% right. Like long term, we're going Hadley over Norlander 10 out of 10 times.
Yep, I'm with you. So my final thoughts on the week is really that this is a tournament. It's new, but it's not. There's going to be some minor changes. I'm not going to deviate too much of what I do to prep for Memorial. Maybe just bump up some bad putters because they're slowing the greens. I'm still going to play the recency bias game of guys we haven't seen and whatnot. The real chess match will be next week when people are like, well, obviously JT's going to win. He already won last week. It doesn't work like that, as you will see with the guys who crush this course and then get crushed or vice versa. But for this, I think I'm going to be more balanced. Like you said, you can start with Decky. For you could even start with Hovland and build some really effective lineups. If you like the 6K range, you can open it up. Is that how you're kind of playing this at first glance?
Yeah, not getting too wrapped up in trying to figure out all the details of how this is going to play different from Memorial. Just somewhat a waste of mental bandwidth. I mean, we can only factor in so much stuff. But yeah, strange week at the top. Not a lot of just like full green light. Like this guy looks great. I mean, the best players in the field are up there. They all have question marks. So yeah, looking like more of a balanced build for me. Maybe you get some low ownership on a guy like Rahm or a guy like JT, but just strange to see the really expensive guys just not look like great plays.
That's the way it is. Like, these are still tough fields, and even the guys it feels like we've seen a bunch of, it's like 12 rounds, 8 rounds. Like, let's not get crazy. Trust that process. Don't overreact. And come back tomorrow, 8:30 Eastern. Me and Jason Roslin. Is Griot playable? Come on, my man. Griot's always playable, so don't be afraid to get on in there. That'll be my final note. Chat, follow us on Twitter. Handles are right below us. Hop in the Awesemo Premium. We'd love to have you as part of it. And if you have any questions, hit us up in Slack or on Twitter. Good luck, everyone. Let's enjoy the Workday Charity Open, and I'll see everyone tomorrow night for Live Before Lock.